Breaking bad fall fertility habits. You've got some bad habits. It's time to rectify that. That's what we're covering this episode of XtremeAg's Cutting the Curve.
Welcome to XtremeAg's Cutting the Curve podcast, where real farmers share real insights and real results to help you improve your farming operation. And now, here's your host, Damian Mason.
Hey there, welcome to another fantastic episode of XtremeAg's Cutting the Curve. Got a great one for you today. Chad and Temple are joining us from the field. That's right, both of them are in their trucks out in the field, and they took time out of their busy schedule during harvest and actually planting. That's what Chad's doing. He's planting right now. We're recording this October 21st, 2025. We're talking about bad fall fertility habits with Tommy Roach. He's our friend from Nachurs, and he actually wanted to do this topic, so I'm going to let you lead off. Why do you want to cover it? I think I know why, because there's probably a lot of money being spent on stupid things that are just habitual, not actually doing what you should do. And then also, how hard are these habits going to be to break? What are the habits?
So let's get the facts out of the way. You go to field days in August, people start getting in the field, in the Corn Belt. People start getting in the field in September. And more people have started asking, why do I do fall fertility? Why do I sling out DAP MAP when, here's the fun facts, if you go back to 2020, corn is 2% less, price of corn is 2% less than it was in 2020, but yet urea is 75% higher, UAN is, catch this, 173% higher, ammonia 125% higher. Here's phosphate, DAP 117% higher, MAP 91% higher, KCL down 1%. So why am I slinging dry phosphate in the fall right now when it's probably going to be tied up or gone in the spring? Why am I doing it? Well, and that's why people ought to think about what they're doing.
It was probably a bad decision even when it was cheaper, because you still didn't get the product wasn't there come spring when you need it, let alone in grain fill or reproductive stage when you need it 9 months later. It was a bad decision when the stuff was cheap. I just tried to write down some of that. Almost all of those were more than 100% up.
That's correct.
I can't wait to hear Chad's response to this, because he's out there right now strip tilling, dry fertility on. Hey, Chad, what you got to say about this, buddy?
Well, it's still Tommy's turn, so I'm gonna gather my thoughts.
And really, we're talking about separate this broadcast versus strip till. If somebody's strip tilling, great. Because at least you're ahead of the curve. I can throw some more fun facts at you. At PTI every year, this is year 5 of a 10-year study that they've been doing in Pontiac, Illinois. I haven't got the data from this year, but the last 4 years of data, if I 100% broadcast DAP and KCL, it shows no benefit over stripping, 75%, and even 50% of that broadcast amount. So, again, it's all about where you place fertility. Stripping is great, but broadcast, just because you've been doing it for the last 50 years, 40 years, whatever, it doesn't make sense in today's economics.
Well, it's just it's the easy button for everybody. That's the problem. This really, I guess it's a good and bad. It's a catch-22 for me to be on this podcast with you guys, because fall blown fertility, use Damian's term, just fling it, that went away from us. Even strip till in the fall went away from us 25, 27, 28 years ago. So we can't do that anyway. So we adapted to, putting it on in the spring. And then we were still going out there ahead of the planters and flinging it all on, and, a blow and grow method. In the last 10 years, maybe 15 years, we've evolved into stop growing the acre and start growing the plant. And that's where all of this is coming to. And it's you get such a more efficiency out of whatever fertility plan that you do have by being able to utilize that. The longer you put it out there, the more ahead of that crop that you put it out there, the longer you're getting a chance to, that whatever that fertility is, whether it be, NPK, you're going to lose N, you're going to let K tie up. And again, with potassium, you're going to do the same thing there too. So you're allowing a problem to happen, and you're allowing that efficiency to get all screwed up in your soil profile. So this is
wait a minute. We got to think about the one good thing we are doing by throwing it out in the fall. We're giving time for the salt to get away.
Okay. I mean, and I'll give you credit for when you strip till in the fall. I mean, you can cut back 30% on your fertility out there by putting it in that zone. Hey, look, I mean, that's great. You found that out. We found that out. That's an awesome way to do it. I don't know that in my opinion, what you're doing, Chad, I don't know that it's better in the fall or in the spring. If you're going to use dry, I kind of agree with you. I think I'd be better off to put it down in the fall if I was going to do that.
So let's talk for a minute on why I do that. Okay, the reason that we run in the fall is because I feel like in the spring, when I can run, one is our type of soil. We want a shank, and we're going to pull up clods. Okay, the next one is the compaction is so much heavier because you're going to go in some areas too wet. You're going to go too wet. It's just a fact. That's what we're going to do as farmers. And then if it's dry enough to run a strip till, heck, it's dry enough to plant. So that's kind of why I run in the fall, is because I get it out there. I got a bed that's drying out, and I can get it going. But I will tell you this: there's no dry fertility that I won't put out without some kind of breakdown additive on it, because Tommy's 100% true. It's not there. And we're down now. When I first started strip tilling, we was at 200-300 pounds. We're down now to 100 pounds. And I'll just tell you, last year we was at 50 pound of DAP, 50 pound of KMAG.
Yep.
And that was just where I was at. This year, I don't know how much DAP I put out, if any. I may be sulfur. Me and Tommy talked about it the other day. We may be sulfur and KMAG because of our soil type. Maybe 20 pound of DAP. I don't know, but y'all are exactly right. And another thing that me and Tommy hadn't brought out is I thought he was going with a PTI. He hasn't lost. Are we 3 years deep or 4 years deep on our trial, Tommy, with a liquid versus dry?
We're 4 on yours.
We're 4 years deep, and it's averaged anywhere from 10 to 20 bushel.
Yeah.
On a full liquid program, and I'm just not set up yet to make it work, but it's done that every year. I mean, row to row. And then the year that we went full dry, so me, we did dry, we did liquid at the same amount of money, and then I put dry and liquid together, which doubled the money. It made less than the dry alone or the liquid alone. It made less than those two.
All right.
We can even go back to, so people are worried about depleting the bank. And I hate to go back to PTI in Illinois, but, after year 4, year 1, soil levels came down a percentage or so, but it plateaued out. And you still got plenty of nutrient in the bank. I mean, people take trips all the time. They say, "Hey Siri, I need to go to Madison, Alabama." Well, if there's a wreck, it takes you a detour. This is what we're in right now. My 2 cents. It's no different than taking a detour for year 2, 3 years maybe. You're not gonna deplete the bank. I mean, you still got plenty of nutrients out there. Maybe focus on something like zinc. I mean, not enough zinc is being put out there where you can help the phosphorus problem. I mean, you got lots of things you can focus on rather than trying to keep this phosphate bank going.
Well, I mean, back to what you just said, Tommy, talking about, my dad told me this, he was like, when I first went down this road of, no dry 3 years ago, and he was like, and Tommy, I talked to you about this, and we went over it with a fine tooth comb, went over it with Chad too. And my dad told me, it's like, you're going to go broke. You're mining the soil. You're crazy. Your soil levels are going to go down. You've absolutely lost your mind. Well, our yields went up. I don't show any deficiencies in my plants at all, none whatsoever. My tissue samples are coming back better than they ever have. The sap samples are, I'm not saying they're perfect, but they're very good. And
They're better
in
than
the end of
Kelly's.
the, well, it don't take much for me and you.
That's a long story. That's a long
But,
story
yeah,
anyway.
that's a long
But
story. We'll do another podcast on how that goes. But maybe Mike Evans and Kelly could be on that with
that
us.
would be awesome.
That
I
would
want to be in on
awesome.
that.
Okay, so we'll do that one later. But when you go back and you look at our soil samples are different now, Tommy. Is it because with putting out dry fertility, we are potentially harming a little bit of our soil health? Maybe, I don't know. Is there some other things that I'm doing? Maybe, I don't know. But our soil samples are not coming down. They're actually increasing somewhat. And I'm not sure, what to attribute that to. But take, for instance, like in our inherent area, you got guys that we've had to cut back on nitrogen, we had to cut back on phosphorus. So guys have figured out how to do that. But the fertility companies tell us you got to put down 150 to 250 pounds of actual K on your farms every year. That's how much you're taking off. Your plants are taking that much off, blah, 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 blah. Well, if you go back and you look at your soil samples and your soil samples are like, okay, well, my base saturation on K is an 8. And you're like, okay, well, I'm trying to keep my soil balanced. Like, why is it that I'm putting on all this dry K when I'm not even using up what I got out there, but I'm putting more and more and more. And now every one of our base saturations on our farms, I'm somewhere between a 7 at the low and a 13 as a high. And it's because of all the years of me listening to recommendations of fertility companies around here, because it's the one thing that is not, like, there is no regulation on K here. You can put down 1,000 pounds per acre if you would like to. So it's like I'm not blaming it on them, but like, it's the one thing that we kind of need and we know it. Well, we went out there and we just flung the ever-living crap out of it. Now our base saturations are high. Let's go back and let's get into that bank. Again, I'm putting on the right type of potassium that can get into the plant. I'm not putting any KCl down anymore. I haven't done it for 3 years. Not putting any MAP or DAP down. I haven't done it in 3 years. Like, my levels in my soil are not going down. They're actually staying stable or increasing somewhat. So, Tommy, can you explain that to me?
It's all about nutrient balance and soil health. I mean, soil health is, I think more and more people are starting to catch on with this soil health thing.
It's about time. By the way, it's about time. It's about time. It's the year 2025, and people are starting to catch on with soil health. It's the most valuable asset you own, and your livelihood depends on it. And now we're finally thinking that maybe we should pay attention to this.
I mean, it's not just about the easy button anymore. I mean, it's easy to go sling dry fertilizer, what retail always tells you to do, 200 pounds, 100 pounds, whatever it is. But that's the easy button. I mean, we could spend a whole nother 2 podcasts on the whole topic of when does a plant need phosphorus? I mean, good grief. You putting out phosphorus in the fall,
Temple
you
covered
think
in another
it's going to
recording we
be...
did, isn't it? 70% of it happens at the reproductive stage, and we're putting it out there. We're putting it out there 4 months before, 6 months before germination, and
it's after tassel. And you think what you're doing now, it's still going to be hanging around in July? Come on.
Yeah, it'll be hanging around 3 Julys from now.
Exactly.
So I want to go back to the breaking the bad fall fertility habits. First off, I think it's kind of like any addiction. The first step is admitting you have a problem. I think this habit is widespread. I have heard when Temple said, my father said, oh, you're going to screw up, you're going to lose your money, you're going to go bankrupt, you're going to mine the soil. I've been hearing mine the soil talk since I was a kid. It was always the story. Of course, they're going to outbid us for cash rent because they're going to mine that farm and they're not going to put any fertilizer out. So then it becomes ingrained. If you want to keep the farm, you've got to make sure that they see that you're putting on dry fertility because it proves you're not mining the soil. I do believe that there's a reason for that. It's almost like the neighborhood talk is if they're not flinging out fall fertility, they're mining it. And then all of a sudden you get this reputation. I think that's one reason the habit exists. Am I right?
I would agree. You know, we all think that the neighboring farmer that wins the bid is going to win, he's mining the crap out of the soil. There's no doubt about that. And there is cases where that happens and you see and then you know, because it's never our fault, right? As an individual farmer, then you're like, oh, yep, he's playing an insurance game. Oh, he's mining the soil. He's doing this. He's doing that. Maybe he's just figured it out. Maybe he's doing a better job. Have we ever thought about that? We never thought about that.
I'm going to throw out all the reasons why I think the habit exists, and I want you guys to go around. I just did the mine the soil talk is one reason that it happens because you're supposed to be flinging out dry fertility in the fall because, by golly, otherwise it looks like you're doing something wrong. Obviously, Temple, we're talking about the easy button. Matt Miles has been a great example of this. He says, I never did what these guys did, going out there with liquid and hitting it 4 times because I just went with it. I want to cover a lot of acres as fast as I can. It was easy for me just to do fall. So I say the number 2 reason the habit exists for bad fall fertility habits is it's easy. Anyone?
I mean, honestly, that's the main reason. And until we get to a point in our farming careers where it's coming to the whole country, where the government or whoever shoves us into a corner where they mandate it like they did out here, and you have to reinvent yourself as a farmer on learning how to grow the plant instead of grow the acre, it will change you. Like, unfortunately, farmers don't really like a lot of change. Mm-hmm. They do the same thing. This is a tradition-bound environment, and we're going to do what our grandfathers did. We're going to do what our fathers did. Yes, it is the easy button, but we generally don't like any change whatsoever. So until that somebody forces that issue into a change, Damian, you and me went in Nebraska and we did a talk. I mean, and the studies that they've done were staggering. I mean, you saw it, like toxic levels of nitrate in the water. Like, this thing is coming to everywhere. So I think that farmers generally need to change a little bit of perspective. And I think it's coming with the newer generation. You know, you got the younger generation that is willing to educate themselves. They are on the internet all the time. They've got the world at their fingertips. They can look up anything. It wasn't like that when me, Tommy, and Chad were younger, you know, when we were in college or when we were starting our careers. It's so much easier for them to look stuff up. Yep. I think the change is coming, and I think it's easier because you got the younger generation of farmers that are really willing to look outside the box. It has changed somewhat.
By the way, you hit on 2 things. First off, I said it's mining the soil, pressure, then there's the easy button. Then you said we've always done it this way. And you talked about the fact that you're going to have to make the change. That's the point. By the way, if you're listening or watching this, go back and check out an episode. Temple and I were in February in western Nebraska, where it's just there's 2 businesses, ag and other ag, period. And there's pressure on ag about too much fertility applied at the wrong time, getting into the aquifers and the wells. And if this is happening in one of the most rural agricultural areas in the country, where they're starting to feel the footsteps of environmental regulation coming, you think that's not coming to Madison, Alabama, where there's, you're next to a population center of 500,000 and growing, and you think that pressure isn't happening? You're going to have no choice but to get better about this.
Yeah, that part of it scares us to death. It just you don't know, and that's what my daddy done. That's what my granddaddy done, and that's just a bunch of fertilizer we put out, and that's just what I'm gonna do.
I want to throw another reason out there, and I want to go with Tommy. There is a certain amount of not just we've always done it this way. The sales reps and the retail infrastructure is set up from the time we were kids. You go get the fertilizer buggies. After the harvest is done, you send over one of your people, and they start applying dry fertility. It's been that way for a long time, but there's also your sales rep from the co-op or the retailer. They'll have no incentive to change this. There's a certain amount of pressure from the business structure.
Unfortunately, you're right. I mean, retail makes their, and I don't mean to piss anybody off, but retail makes their money on spreading dry fertilizer. They're not making it on, they don't make much on a ton of urea or DAP. They make their money spreading dry fertilizer. And another thing that what people have to realize or understand, things have changed since 20 years ago when we didn't have a lot of precision placement fertility options. I mean, now you got all sorts of gizmos and gadgets you can put on planters. You got Y drops, you got drones, you got all these different tools that you don't have to solely rely on fall fertility. You can do a lot of it spoon feeding throughout the season. It's now, I wonder how many people have a drone nowadays.
Yeah. Well, larger, more modern farms, and that's going to be coming. I mean, like the farmers that don't have drones, it's kind of like the households that didn't have a car and still had a horse. This is going to change fast, I think. My perception is there's going to be drones on all these guys' operations at a certain level. All right, I want to go with, we did why the habit exists. Mining the soil and the pressure on that from the neighbors or the tenants, the landlords, etc. It's the easy button. Asterisk, and that's the easy button is the number one reason, Temple says. Chad, obviously we've always done it that way. Dad did that way, whatever. Then retail pressure. I was going to throw the other one out there. Do you think there's still a lack of education, a lack of awareness? Do you think that's the reason?
That's what I was going to say
100%.
next.
100%.
That is one of our biggest problems in agriculture. And I'm going to say it, and I am definitely going to piss some people off, but I don't know that I care. There's been so much of this out there of this sales agronomist that really, in my mind, doesn't necessarily exist. Because that guy doesn't, not always, but a lot of the times, the retailers in the area have got, I got a sales agronomist. No, he's really not. He's a salesman because he's got no agronomy degree. But when you sit down and you
Me and you don't either.
Yeah, but here's the difference. Let me tell you the difference. So I asked one of the guys one time, and I said, let me ask you something. And he said, yeah. And I was like, how many acres of corn have you grown in your life? And he was like, thousands and thousands. I said, no, that's not what I asked. What I'm asking is when have you been at risk to not feed your family over making a mistake on spending millions of dollars in fertility in 1 year? Have you ever been at that risk? Well, no. And I said, okay, so why am I going to follow your advice on my dirt when you don't even have an agronomy degree to point me in the right direction? Education is the biggest freaking problem. It is the biggest one. It makes me so mad. I get so angry about it. It makes me insane. But there's no talking to some of these companies. They just got a salesman that used to be, let me show you how they work out. They come to a retailer and they start out as an applicator. They move from an applicator to a yard manager. They move from a yard manager into a salesperson. They move from a salesperson into a sales agronomist. Then they move from a sales agronomist into the manager of that freaking store. And they hadn't been at risk for nothing their whole life. And it makes me so angry, I can't see straight. And yet they come to a farmer, all these American farmers that have killed themselves to provide for their family, and they literally are begging us to spend millions of dollars on their request. Are you actually kidding me right now?
Hey, Chad,
Hallelujah!
Chad, I want to put it out there. First off, it's like a church tent revival, and he's down here saying hallelujah. But the thing is, Temple led off by saying, I'm going to piss some people off. He didn't just piss off some people. Every person in the institution of agricultural retail provider, he pissed off. Right there.
I am not.
Did I say
tied to that
sorry?
Temple
No,
Rhodes,
it's all
man.
right.
Did I say I'm sorry before I started? I didn't.
I think it's
No,
really important. I think it's really important. Remember, we talk about the education part of this. And that's why XtremeAg was started, to help other farm guys, farm girls, whatever, farmers do this farming better. And what you just outlined is a little bit. I mean, obviously, there's plenty of exceptions
go
to
too
that,
far?
but the big part
No.
of that is
No. I wanted you to take one more breath and go keep going.
I mean, I can, but I can't calm down now. I'm good.
Light up a cigarette.
Chad. So the thing is, it's not that we say lack of education. We're not in any way being insulting. We're not.
No.
It's just that if you are an operator, you've probably been pretty well indoctrinated by here's how we do things. This is how your grandpa did it.
The best thing you can know to move yourself forward is to know that you don't know it all. Okay, when you realize that you don't know it all and you put people around you, I mean, how many times, okay, Tommy, let me ask you this. How many times a week do me and you talk? Most times.
At least
Yeah.
2 or 3 times a week.
All right, now, how many times a week do me and you talk during hours, business hours? None.
I call him on
Usually
Sundays.
0.
I call him on
So,
Sundays.
It's typically after. You call me at 7, 8 o'clock.
My point is, everybody needs that person in their life that they can bounce stuff off of. That has Tommy don't have anything to do with dry fertilizer or liquid fertilizer. He just gives me information on the topic I ask, whether it's out there on a copper or something that we don't ever talk about or other things. You've got to have that person in your life, in your farm, in your business that you can rely on to get this information from that's not biased. I mean, me and Tommy talk as friends. We talk about, stuff we're doing with our wives. I mean, it's just stuff.
I'm going to take it one step further. And before we started this, we were talking about some different ideas about granary episodes that we're going to do in November. Talking about lack of knowledge, lack of information. Land grant universities do nobody any good nowadays.
Woo! Man, we testified today.
Hey, Chad, Temple's got the entire ag retail business model pissed off, and now Tommy's going after academia. Who you gonna pick? Who do you want to choose?
You know what? Me and you, Damian, we're just gonna hang out. We're just gonna hang out and pick up the pieces.
I mean, I'm gonna back up on something for just a minute. I want everybody to put this in perspective. And I think I said this when me and Damian were somewhere else, and Damian was like, you really pissed him off with that. But here's an analogy for you. So as farmers, every year, our investment is between tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands, and millions of dollars. Let's say that at my fertilizer budget this year is, let's just call it $1 million. Let's just use that number. So that's my investment, right? So say I go to a financial firm and say, look, I got $1 million to invest. Am I going to talk with the guy that I feel like has got the most education to get me my return on my investment? Or am I going to give it to the secretary up front and say, hey, look, let me know how you make out with this?
Yeah, after you get this man a coffee, let me know what you think about his portfolio.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm getting at. And I'm not saying they're lower level. It's just farmers need to do a better job of educating yourself. And it's back to what you said, Chad. You got to have that person. You got to have a relationship with a company that you trust, with a true agronomist or somebody that has got a true agronomy background that can point you in the right direction. And, maybe it's tidbits. Maybe it's a complete revamping of your operation. Those kind of things help. But you got to educate yourself.
Put your people around it. Realize that you don't know it all. Realize that your granddaddy, man, it's hard for me to say, but they dealt with the most that they had, the pieces that they had to make it work. Like Tommy said, there's technology out there. Things change. I know I don't like change.
Whole new world now.
But it's a new world out there. And still, our job as farmers is to stay in business, period. Okay, so we figure out how to stay in business, and that's it.
By the way, I like the thing. First off, we're going to go through how, to wrap it up, how you can break the bad fall fertility habit. And I think I've already heard it. The
land grant stuff. That was what Tommy said. That was how to break it.
Yeah, well,
not listen to university.
Well, and his thing is not unvalid. a lot of what's happened, Vern talks about it. Kelly Garrett's son says, I went to Iowa State, I got a degree in agronomy, and he's only 25, so it was only a few years ago when he was there. And he said, they're still telling kids my age the same shit that they told people older than my dad. They haven't changed their agronomic education in 40 or 50 years, and are we trying to pretend that we don't have better tech, better tools, better ability to use our fertility, environmental regulation? Everything else has changed in 50 years, and we're still out here. So that, to Tommy's point, these land-grant universities, I know we'll get some blowback on this, in large part, take it from Vern, he's the kid that was just there a few years ago, says, ain't changed in 50 years. Am I right, Tommy?
Hey, if you want to talk another hour, let's go.
Tommy said whatever.
I want to throw one out there, though, that Temple talked about, is then, rethinking. That's the hard part, obviously. That's why we're here. That's why we invented this entire show and everything. And what you guys do in the videos you shoot in the field is changing the 8 inches between your ears, right? And that's the big one.
That's exactly right.
So we're going through how to break the habit. I got tech and tools. Tommy talked about that. Now more than ever with GPS, with the ability to put stuff, precision application, et cetera. Rethinking, which is a hard one. And then Temple said retooling, meaning redoing what you do. Chad's putting out in strip till. Well, Mike didn't, right?
Right.
And you're doing stuff on how you apply stuff. You could just got to change some of your practices.
Oh, wait a minute, but they did. Back, Dad talks about, what broke them. They was tickled with a fertilizer spreader because back in the day, they put dry fertilizer out with a planter, right? So when you think that you've mastered something, they was doing that in 1965. I mean, but they got to where they could spread it. It made it more
easy.
convenience. But a convenience, they hit that easy button. When they started hitting that easy button, they kept hitting that easy button, but it was all they had at the time.
Take Chad's,
Tommy.
Take Chad's scenario for an example. He's not cutting out putting out fertilizer in the fall, but where he started, say 4 years ago, at putting out 300-400 pounds, now he's down to 100 or less.
Yeah. And now we're focusing on what we want to focus on is the things that we can fix. I talk to Tommy regular on like, hey, I really need to up this zinc in this thing. Zinc in the strip till is perfect. So it's things like that. Maybe it's a little bit more sulfur. Maybe it's a little bit of zinc. Maybe I have a mag problem.
A lot of sulfur.
Yeah, I have a mag problem. That's why we run with K-Mag. We're addressing problems in the strip. We're not just going after fertility.
I might ask you a question. Should there be no fall fertility at all, Tommy?
Oof.
Ooh, come on.
Yes.
Well, if we're going,
oh shit!
Okay, we're talking about breaking the fall fertility habit. Is cold turkey just like quitting cigarettes? Is it smartest just to go cold turkey and say?
And I'm not saying that, because if you're running strip till in the Corn Belt, it's okay. Instead of putting out 300, 400, 500 pounds, okay, do what Chad's doing. Okay, 100. And then take that money, reallocate those dollars, and use it in the plant. Feed the plant. Don't feed the acre.
Yeah.
I want to do another one. We're going to do this maybe in the granary. I love it. Temple said, imagine you took $1 million into an investment firm. Are you going to talk to the person that's cleaning the toilets about what they should do with that $1 million? Not being mean, but there's somebody that's much more proficient or should be much more knowledgeable about how to deploy your $1 million for maximum return.
Yes.
And that's what you're doing with with your crop inputs. And I think that
hey, people are doing that right now. They're listening to me and Temple on here. Now, they're the one. Tommy needs to be one taking the calls, and they're listening to me and Temple, and we're the ones that's 90% of the time just cleaning toilets. We got here by cleaning toilets.
Exactly.
what else should we, I wrote down tech, tools, and utilization of that, rethinking your entire fertility program, and then retooling and rearranging, because Temple and Chad already do that. They got equipment.
You have all winter. Educate yourself. Take one topic, whether it's potash, DAP. Don't try to educate yourself on all of them. This year, my winter, I'm talking to everybody I know. Me and Tommy's talking about it. Mag. I'm going to fix my mag problem. Every time I say I'm going to, then it hurts bad on the pocketbook. But I'm going to take one half of a pivot and I'm going to figure out what to do and what not to do. Maybe it's a winter application. Maybe it's not. Tommy's got some mag acetate we're going to lean on pretty heavy. Calcium acetate.
There's some pretty good feedback on that. I got that mag acetate in some trials this year that Tommy sent out here. It's there, boss.
Yep. So see, there's things
ain't no
like
bullshit
that
about it, but it's getting that shit on at the right time. You know, that's the other thing.
That's right. So we're gonna, just look to educate yourself about one thing all the time, because it's information overload. It's like drinking from a fire hose if you don't,
I mean, I think it's easier if you want somewhere to start, right? Just start with something. Like, figure out what the low-hanging fruit is. We talk about the low-hanging fruit. Figure out what that one thing that you think, whether you figure it out through a tissue sample, whether you figure it out through a soil sample, something that's inherently a problem for you, like figure out that one thing and then go back to that chart that Tommy's got, right? Very easy. Go into his book, look at his chart and say, okay, this one nutrient on this chart looks like I need it between these couple periods. Split that thing out and put it on throughout the year and watch what happens. Just watch.
But you
sit back and pay attention to your crop.
But you have to know you're going to do that and say, hey, I'm cutting $20 an acre out of this dry program, and I'm going to spend it $20 an acre over here on some form of liquid program or some form of additive I need, something else.
And it's not that it's not as hard as what, when we were out there talking at the field day, Tommy and I got a couple questions from the audience, and the audience was like, and it was the same thing down there to Johnny's when I was down there. You get this false sensation of like everybody thinks like, well, you're adding another pass. You're doing this, you're doing that. There's nothing that I'm doing that's adding another pass. I'm just putting something in the pass that I'm making efficient to go into the plant at that time. I'm not adding anything.
You're feeding the plant.
You reference
not the acre.
You two are the farmers, and he's the professional agronomist. Not the sales agronomist. He's the professional agronomist and research agronomist. I'm just the host of this show. But I can tell you one thing that the most illustrative, I like to use that word because Matt Miles says, what's he talking about? Meaning it illustrates the point. That chart that Nature's put out that shows when the demand is on the percentage of the resource needed. And I'm looking at that and I'm like, that's what cornfields look like here in my part of Indiana about mid to late July. But I'm like, so how in the hell would I expect that fertilizer put out in October is still going to be there when that plant needs it in July? That's 9 months difference, right?
Here's the reason, because you're still feeding the acre. You're not feeding the plant.
That's it.
Sorry, Chad.
All right. I want to do the last thought on this. When I said how to break this habit, because that's what we promised these listeners and viewers we were going to do. And if you are a listener, become a viewer. Go to our YouTube channel or XtremeAg.farm. But if you go to XtremeAg on our YouTube, just type in XtremeAg and hit subscribe. It don't cost nothing. You'll see all of our cool stuff, including our show, The Granary, which is on YouTube. And you'll see guys like Chad, Temple, and Tommy who are at our granary. It's a great show. It's been going now for a year. And we talk about all kinds of cool stuff. So pull up a chair and join us there. I've got my big one on this. If you want to break the habit. If you believe that you're blowing money, Tommy opened up with UAN's up 173% year over year. Ammonia is up 125% year over year. DAP's the one that's not really keeping up. It's only up 91% year over year. You're spending a bunch of money. Imagine that's it's all cigarettes. Marlboros are worth $14, selling for $14 a pack right now. So imagine the same thing. You know what you need to do if you want to change and break your habit? Change your peer group and who you have for support. If you are hanging around a bunch of people that are chain smokers, they're going to say, everybody's doing it. Just keep smoking. What difference does it make? You know what? It's fun. If you're hanging around people that are not smokers or reform smokers, they're going to help you better than the people that are smokers. That's the same thing with this. Hang around people like Chad and Temple and Tommy and the folks at XtremeAg, because we're telling you, you're doing this in large part because it's a habit, because it was easy, or you think you're supposed to because the coffee shop people are going to talk to you about it if you don't go fling a bunch of fertility out there in the fall. Am I right?
You're exactly right, but I would pick Matt and Kevin or Matt and Kelly. I wouldn't pick me and Temple at the same bunch. You can hang with me or Temple, but not me and Temple.
Temple, I'm sorry, Tommy. I think I've got something there that if you want to break the habit, you better change who you hang around, because all your usual buddies that get together all winter in the shop and gossip about the neighbors, they're not spending winter on how to get smarter about magnesium and their soil like Chad is. They're doing the same thing, commiserating about how they're broke and BSing around about what the neighbors are doing. Instead, find a new group, and it's right here on how to break this habit.
How do you eat an elephant?
One bite
at a time.
Right.
God dang, like a watermelon.
This is what an older guy told me years ago, and it always hit home with me. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep getting what you're getting.
Boom.
Think about that.
That's how I'm gonna leave it right there. You've got to.
You know what we say down here in the South? Play kid games, get kid prizes.
Keep doing what you're doing. You're going to keep getting what you're getting. Keep playing kids' games. Keep getting kids' prizes. That's the wisdom. But the bigger point here is we're trying to help you break your bad fall fertility habit. If you don't think that there's enough reason to do it just because of crops, do it because of the regulation that is going to be coming. Temple just talked about that. Do it for the economic reasons that Tommy laid out. Do it because you challenge yourself to be a better farmer, like Chad talked about. I'm Damian Mason. I just named all the people that are here. This is XtremeAg's Cutting the Curve. It's one of my favorite episodes we've ever done. We talk about breaking the bad fall fertility habit. If you want to learn more about how to use products from our friends at Nachurs, Tommy, where do they go?
www.nachurs.com.
And that's Nachurs, Nachurs.com, and check out all of our cool shows, including when he comes to the granary and all the other cool stuff, the hundreds and hundreds of videos these guys shoot in the field. That's at XtremeAg.farm on our website, and also past episodes. We've recorded about 400 of these episodes, and so I'd like you to check those out also. Till next time, thanks for being here. I'm Damian Mason with XtremeAg. Please share this with somebody that can benefit from it.
That's a wrap for this episode of Cutting the Curve. Make sure to check out XtremeAg.farm for more great content to help you squeeze more profit out of your farming operation.